Lykke Li? Lykke Li has always sounded sad. But this new album from her sounds like someone who's been sad for so long that they actually start to feel comfortable in the chaos. And weirdly, this might be the most upbeat she's sounded in years. Hello and welcome back here with me, Icy Snaps. And yes, today we are looking at Lykke Li's new album, The After Party. Hailing from sunny Sweden, this is her 7th studio album. Hell of a run, and potentially her last. Aptly named because there's a sense throughout the album that she's kind of tired, not creatively but emotionally, setting up for a final farewell. So what do we expect from the final show? Some final thoughts, something grandiose, something epic, maybe some deep heartache and some sad goodbyes. From the Queen of Sad, we actually get something a little more upbeat and positive. But does it leave you with something memorable or something forgettable? Let's find out. What we do get though is some bongos. 10 out of 10. Described by herself as apocalyptic bongos. Make of that what you will. And actually, I find this is where a lot of the cohesion of the album comes in. The atmosphere is consistent. You get these slow, emotional spirals, giant strings, and this really quite dramatic and really well done percussion. Some tracks don't fully stand out individually. It's less of like a playlist album and more of a emotional come down, which I think is intentional, but depending on your mood, it can leave you feeling immersed or exhausted. The production often feels like it's on the verge of becoming too much, but then completely motionless at others. But I think that chaos is what gives the album its personality. Lucky again is a good example of this, I think. The strings on this track are lovely, melodramatic in that weird sort of nostalgic 70s, almost cinematic way, while the percussion is so good throughout the album, keeping everything moving. There's something uplifting about it while still sounding so emotionally hollow as Lykke Li often does. Coming back to the beginning of the album though is where we find the best stretch of music. Starting with the opener, Not Gonna Cry. Yes, I've just been cutting onions. And I actually love this song. The percussion is great again, but it feels more like a bit of a dance anthem track. The simple vocals feel catchy along with the melody. Also just feels way more positive than her previous stuff. And I love this transition at the end to this like strings and this retro futuristic robot sounds. And these seamlessly lead into the next track, Happy Now. Despite the song name, there's still a lot of troubles and doubt in the song lyrics. Even when the lyrics get abstract or repetitive, the music really carries the emotional weight. The strings constantly feel mournful and dramatic. The percussion is really strong and restless. And then the synths create this dreamlike hazy atmosphere looming over everything. I also really appreciate how kind of organic everything sounds. Even with all the electronic production, there's all these live layers throughout. Orchestral arrangements, flutes, percussion, drums. It really stops the production feeling too artificial or cold. It gives the album this real texture, like you're in the physical space and you can hear where everything's coming from. After Lucky again though, everything takes a bit of an artistic dip from here, I think. Everything feels emotional, but it's that sonic weight that's slightly heavy. Luckily the bongos are still there though. Take the song Famous Last Words, the music feels way more fuzzy here. The vocals really take the center stage. That is until we get about 2 minutes into the track. The singing stops and suddenly the music creates its own emotional voice. And it's actually quite beautiful when it happens. And that brings me to the track Future Fear, which actually I quite like. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. I don't like the vocals at the start though, I will say that. But after this, the whole track feels weirdly like a fever dream. It gives me the impression that something feels off or there's something wrong. You know, the synths feel retro, like Boards of Canada or something. And then suddenly it becomes acoustic out of absolutely nowhere and for no need. And I think it really works. It's a nice contrast. It's weird and I like it. come at me. Vocally, she sounds distant at points as well. Her voice still has this sort of ethereal, wispy quality to it, but it feels disconnected from this massive production. She's floating through these large dramatic instrumentals rather than controlling them. And yes, I've mentioned a lot of good songs, but there are a few that I don't really mesh well with. Songs like Sick of Love and So Happy I Could Die don't really do much for me, unfortunately, but I do like the emotional weight of the last part of So Happy I Could Die. Contrast this with A Knife in the Heart, which adds these massive drums, noisy distorted layers, and these like vocal layers, chants, whatever you want to call them, almost sounding a little bit industrial. This brings us onto the last track, Euphoria, and what we get unfortunately feels a little underwhelming. I think I get the initial vibe. It's this acoustic, goodbye, sad song. For a last album, I feel like I wanted to go out with a bit of a bang or something, you know? Something a bit more epic, crazy. Wow, what an ender. The vocals, I will say, are really prominent here. And I love that we get this up and close, almost personal experience with her vocals. But I don't know, the last stretch of the album definitely loses some momentum. The opening was so strong that it almost felt like the only way was down. I do admire the commitment to the whole atmosphere though. The instrumentation is lovely. The percussion genuinely carries so much emotion in this album. Even when the songwriting does drift a little bit, it does keep that immersion. If this really is her last album, it's definitely not going to be her most memorable, unfortunately, but it might be her most emotionally accepting one. It's got apocalyptic bongos. What more do you need? Saying that though, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the album down below. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you like. Check out a video, whatever you want, and hopefully catch you on the next one.